I have heard the castle gate is the product of Sheikah wisdom and Goron engineering. Father always said it would never fall, and he was technically correct. It is the only part of the castle that remains unblemished. The dining hall. Father was partial to the seat in front of the fireplace, and Link preferred to stand watch near the entrance while I ate. I still laugh when I remember the look of surprise on Link's face as I returned for my second and then third helping of fruitcake. I loved gazing out at the castle town here in the observation room. The view is completely different now, but I will see to its restoration. The first gatehouse is the outermost point of entry to Hyrule Castle. While the ramparts themselves are crumbling in many places, the towers appear to have endured. This seems like an excellent place to store the materials we will need as we work to restore the castle. The guard's chamber. When he was not occupied by his duties as my protector, Link would often come here to train alongside the regular soldiers. They once let me join in, but the arrow I loosed went off target. It also caught the flame of a torch, and everyone frantically raced to put out the resulting fire. As far as I am aware, there were never criminals foul enough to warrant imprisonment here. And while I do recall a bandit named Misko being captured long, long ago, it seems in recent times they have risen to greater fame for their keen sense of fashion. Ships would come and go all day here at the docks. It truly was the most lively part of the castle, and it always felt thus thanks to the numerous merchants. It feels lonely now, abandoned as it is, a feeling magnified as I reflect on what it once was. The castle's library, now covered in dust. At first glance, I found this worrying, but I believe nearly all the books can be salvaged with some effort. Though Father never cared much for books, he would often visit this place. I wonder why. Though this throne sits vacant, the space it occupies still speaks volumes. For instance, while the sculpture behind the throne is especially sturdy and serves as a hiding place in an emergency, no one that occupied that seat has ever chosen to use it. The bell tower. My memories of it are filled with a terrible sense of helplessness. When that bell tolled, it reminded me that my training was incomplete, and the last time I heard it ring out, it was warning us of the calamity's arrival. My room. I spent far less time here than I did in my study. That fact may have surprised my attendants, as I often closed the bed curtains to hide the fact I had once again slipped away to continue my research. My study. I found a silent princess in a corner of this desolate room. How many years or decades has it patiently waited for the right conditions that it might finally emerge? To think, I once believed the silent princess was doomed to extinction. You're stronger than anyone. I remember when this place had a blue roof. Daruk would be there, ready to lighten the mood, and Urbosa, standing by, was always ready to lead. Rivali, so confrontational with Link at every opportunity, while Mifa watched the two of them with worry in her eyes. We can never return to that time, but I will forever hold memories like these dear. Though the central square has lain in ruins for a long time, I can still recall the bustling activity of the castle town like it was yesterday. At the center of this space was the fountain, fed by an underground waterway, though I suppose that has run dry. The ruins of Hyrule Cathedral. I often came here to pray that my powers would finally awaken. Though this place does bring me comfort, I also feel bitter at my many unanswered prayers. A memorial. It is said that spirits who are weighed down with regret when they pass on sink deep beneath the ground and wander in search of light. I will place similar memorials at scenes of great loss and pray they will bring light to those wandering souls. Ever since I was a child, I was always forbidden from crossing the bridge over the moat to reach Castletown Prison, so today is the first time I have ever set foot here. The calamity has not spared this place, leaving behind only these scorched columns. But perhaps that is for the best. Perhaps Hyrule no longer has need of a prison. This was once an impressive research site, but after being devastated by the calamity, it is now known as the Royal Ancient Lab Ruins. Pura in particular has lamented the knowledge and samples that were lost here, but we can start again. It's our turn to build something we can leave to future generations. The land here has been trampled by monsters. With the deep valley nearby and the Rito already watching over the area, there seemed little need for additional protection. Unfortunately, That proved an incorrect assumption. I pray that those who lost their lives here found peace with Goddess Hylia. While long ago, all the stables would pack up and move as the flow of travelers shifted, only Seren Stable continues this tradition today. In fact, they are planning to move to one of the new roads built to support the construction of a Skyview Tower. They are very busy preparing for the move, but I must remember to visit them again once things have settled. Typhlo Ruins was once covered in darkness. Perhaps it disappeared along with the shrine and the trial. Regardless, these large ruins were almost certainly unexplored thanks to that darkness. With it gone, dedicated research of this site can begin in earnest. The Elden Great Skeleton. Geological surveys of Hyrule have largely been at a standstill, but they could be incredibly valuable. Through careful study, we could identify extinction events and their causes. We could see evidence of environmental changes or disasters, and possibly prevent them from happening again. And this all ties back to fossils. We simply must put more effort into their study. This structure was clearly designed to take advantage of the geography of the area, but even the interior is largely intact. Considering how many battles have been fought, well, it is very impressive. Seeing it reminds me of some very, very old records I've read. They suggest that there was a temple named for the first queen of Hyrule, and that it was often used as a shelter for the common people. Could this be... The North Lome Labyrinth is a harsh environment and an unsurprisingly labyrinthine structure. It has high walls, but is otherwise unlike most fortifications. It did once hold an ancient relic meant for the bearer of the sword that seals the darkness, so perhaps it was a trial or test of some kind. I may just have to ask Link to investigate. A hot spring hidden deep within the mountain. I heard the pained cries of an animal and have now found an injured horse soothing its wounds in the refreshing waters. I had meant to investigate the immense skeleton on the northern summit, but this horse seems so friendly. Oh, the skeleton isn't going anywhere. Now how far away is the nearest stable? I came upon an injured horse and brought it to Snowfield Stable to be treated. I had hoped to bring it with me on my travels, but it needed more time to recover, so instead I offered a prayer that some kind-hearted person would come to care for it. I may have also said a prayer, one I learned from Mother, to help with its mane. I spoke with Gally at Rito's stable, who seems worried about whether he can keep the stable open, though it sounds like he's had an offer to sell it to a newspaper of all things. In any case, Hyrule is all the better with newspapers and stables. Maybe the two can find a way to coexist here. 100 years ago, the divine beast Varmeadow soared through the sky, and the Rito champion, Revali, was ever quick to celebrate his skill as its pilot. Many may have been put off by his bravado, but I found it encouraging. There were often subtle signs that he was someone who worked hard, unseen, to be certain he could back up his bluster. Revali, you were always quickest to rush to my side when I struggled. I'm sorry I wasn't able to help you when you were in need. You being you, I imagine you shrugged off waiting 100 years like it was the smallest inconvenience. You were so tough on Link to make sure he could protect me, weren't you? Ah, Rito Village, hometown of Revali, the Rito champion. It seems he is spoken of as a legend here, and his bow is an honor bestowed on the best Rito warrior. You did hate other people talking about you, Revali, but I'm afraid your story will live on here for quite some time still. This plaza has been named after Revali. It's said that he boarded the divine beast from here the day the calamity began, and for that reason, and in his honor, it was given its name. The fact that the design on the ground has been carefully maintained and unchanged for 100 years shows the immense respect the village holds for their legendary warrior. Kennelly, the village elder of the Rito, told me that he intends to pass his role on to Teba. He hadn't believed that a single Rito could serve both as the elder and the protector of the village at the same time, but when he saw Link and Teba face Meadow, needless to say, he has no concerns whether the Rito will be in good hands with Teba. Many of the Rito aspire to be like Revali, and most of the children follow his example in practice with the bow. The flight range is where they do the majority of their training, though he always claimed the practice range was only meant for him. He did strive to make a better world for future generations, and that dream lives on here. When I look at the Hebra Mountains now, I can accept something I couldn't 100 years ago. the energy blast that shaped the peak 10,000 years in the past indeed came from the castle. Perhaps these mountains were always trying to teach us about the past. I should put together a survey team to investigate and make sure we aren't missing any other such messages. These ancient columns mark where a shrine once stood. Before the calamity, when I was frantically searching ruins, I would often seek hard-to-reach places. Despite this, Link always managed to find me. I was so terrible to him then, and of course when I apologized for it later, he reassured me that he didn't mind. I regret putting him through that. Tabantha Bridge Stable was built when the Tabantha Great Bridge was repaired after many years of neglect. However, the bridge was destroyed during the calamity and only recently reopened, so the manager here is worried that no one knows about his stable. He purchased some goats and is trying to develop a signature dish using goat milk butter, but there are definitely some things he needs to learn about the animals. Thunder Plateau was so named for the endless rolling thunder that used to echo across it. I was hesitant to even come here, but with the thunder gone, this place is incredibly peaceful. I wonder if the thunder was connected to the shrine that was here before. Maybe it was some sort of test. Link often used the vast meadows of the Sanadin Park ruins to help me practice horse handling. I recall thinking there was little I could learn from him. After all, I am quite capable on horseback. However, it wasn't technique he was showing me, but rather deeper lessons in compassion. The Satori Mountain Cherry Blossom Tree. While there were only 2 of these trees before, there seem to be many more now. However, it is said that cherry blossoms can purify evil. Does that mean more are appearing because the calamity has disappeared, or are they appearing in preparation for some new threat? This stable is called Outskirt Stable, but the Gerudo apparently refer to it as the Meetup Stable. Abosa told me that this is where many Vi see Vo for the first time. Perhaps the stable master knows this, and that's why a map to cherry blossoms, quite the romantic setting, is on display. The dried rock face of the entrance to Gerudo Canyon shows how little rain this region gets. While it may not be so perilously hot as to require advanced elixirs, the sweltering air does strike you the moment you set foot here, and it serves as a warning of the rugged desert ahead. This is where divine beast Varnaboris was found. According to the Gerudo champion, Urbosa, controlling the divine beast was similar in practice to how she controlled lightning. Both required considerable force of will, but with the divine beast it was much, much more difficult. There have been reports of monsters in the well here at Gerudo Canyon Stable, and though we have sealed the entrance of their den with rocks, I doubt that is a permanent solution. As an additional measure, I have also told the stable manager to avoid using the well. It will be inconvenient, but safety is of the highest priority. It may be my imagination, but it feels like there is even more heat in the air here than in the past. And despite that oppressive heat and this seemingly desolate environment, I believe there is more vitality in this desert than anywhere else. Perhaps I feel this way because I have seen the strength of those who call this place home. Nowadays, it seems Riju has Karakara Bazaar well protected with diligent soldiers. But when I came here 100 years ago, the traders who frequented this place were on their own. I was fortunate that Urbosa herself served as my bodyguard. The main settlement of the Gerudo Town, is ruled by Chief Riju. Though young, she seems to be working hard in service to her people, overcoming both the divine beast and the threat the Yiga clan posed. In fact, the town is more lively than ever. It is humbling to see her face such challenges. When Mother died, I was inconsolable. The current chief of the Gerudo, Riju, used to have long hair reaching all the way to her waist, a style only permitted to Gerudo royalty. Today, however, she wears it cut short. I believe this is both in penance for not being able to stop the divine beast or the Yiga clan on her own, but also to give herself a goal to aspire to. By the time her hair grows long again, she must be a strong chief like Urbosa was. Riju's beloved sand seal, Patricia, was apparently a gift from her mother. They seem to have formed a close bond over the many years of Riju's studies and training. I think they can even communicate with one another, though I am not able to understand Patricia at all. These are the barracks for Gerudo soldiers. Riju recently spoke of wanting to improve the training her soldiers receive, sharing too how she has been frustrated with the results so far. Hearing this, I told her of how Urbosa always felt the Gerudo should be more in touch with the desert. A look of realization crossed Riju's face, and then she spent some time studying a map. It seems Urbosa can offer wise guidance, even 100 years later. Riju complimented my technique when handling a sand seal, a skill I only possess thanks to the training Urbosa gave me so long ago. I then told Riju of the time I forgot a shield, and was left behind by both my sand seal and Urbosa, and the young girl doubled over laughing. I still sometimes forget that this young girl is chief of her people. I tried once again to get the popular Gerudo town drink Noble Pursuit, and I was once again told I was not ready for it yet. They did tell me I should come back when the young Gerudo children who have been living abroad return to town. Apparently, some special drinks will be prepared for their arrival, and I should ask again then. The North Gerudo ruins are connected to Gerudo town via an underground pathway that Riju showed me. She told me it was an escape route in the event of an emergency, but that short of some immense disaster, she couldn't imagine using it for such a purpose. She laughed as she said this, and though she seemed unconcerned in the moment, it's clear the safety of her people is never far from her mind. This is the chasm located near Barida Lookout. There are records that suggest ancient people lived far below ground in the depths, and I suspect holes such as this one could connect the surface to that place. But if I want to find evidence proving my theories, I will need researchers wholly dedicated to the task. I should speak with Pura to see if she knows anyone qualified and capable of tackling this. This lookout post was supposedly originally built to keep watch on divine beast Varnaboris as it lumbered through the desert, but now it is a place to observe changes in the desert landscape. I've heard it is tall enough to see above the worst sandstorms, and between this place and the lighthouse Riju has planned for Karakara Bazaar, safely traveling the desert should become easier soon. The immense Gerudo Great Skeleton lies here. Legends say that long, long ago, Hyrule was actually the bottom of a vast ocean. Considering the marine fossils that have been found across the world, I see little reason to doubt this, except it seems to me that there are too few fossils. Maybe sea life found roots even deeper. Maybe through chasms like the one near Barida Lookout. Maybe as far as the depths. No, I'm getting carried away. South Lome Labyrinth is one of 3 ruins in Hyrule that have been named after Lome. Each are incredibly complex in design and present harsh environments, which make them very difficult to explore. That said, they may contain important ancient relics, so it would be best to send out a dedicated survey team here. I finally get to see all these amazing sights you saw, Urbosa. I wish that it hadn't cost what it did. But thanks to the things you and everyone else taught me, and the time we spent together, I can move forward with my head held high. Thanks to you, I am going to be okay. Could you tell my mother that for me, please? This area was once alive and bustling with activity. There were several inns nearby, and the roads were busy with soldiers from the local garrison or travelers heading for the Temple of Time. Nowadays, only the wind moves through this place. I pray everyone who passed through here has found peace with Goddess Hylia. The passage up to the Great Plateau has been filled with dirt and rocks. Certainly some of this damage was caused by the Guardians' invasion, but some of the debris looks to have been placed deliberately. I imagine the intention was to keep as many monsters as possible from reaching the Great Plateau, where Link recovered in the Shrine of Resurrection. But how am I supposed to reach the Great Plateau now? It was here, in the Shrine of Resurrection, that ancient Sheikah technology preserved Link's life. I was able to clearly sense when he woke from his 100-year slumber, and I am so happy that my voice could reach him. There are several ancient texts and works of literature that speak of the Temple of Time by name, but all of them describe a structure that differs in design from the one we see today. Hyrule's history is long, and this discrepancy is one of the unsolved mysteries of our land. Father's grave. I heard that stacking these rocks was the best that could be done for him. Well, they could not have picked a better place. That he will rest here, forever looking out over Hyrule. Mother, Father, though the land is still littered with ruins, I promise you that I will restore it. Please, watch over me as I do. When I last visited this mountain hut 100 years ago, I did not realize who the owner was. Now that I do, it explains why Father looked so troubled, even sad, when I described the building as shabby and in need of demolition. How could I have guessed it was his own little retreat? Though, looking at it now, oh, Father, did you build this yourself? Hopper Pond used to be filled with hot-footed frogs. Perhaps the monsters have driven them away? In any case, this is the place I finally managed to catch one. I was incredibly excited, and I tried to show Link, but he kept flinching and backing away from me. The Hyrule Garrison ruins. As with other fortified locations, many Guardians attacked this place. However, it is likely most of the soldiers normally stationed here had already been deployed to other regions. Those few who remained fought bravely, though they were certainly ill-equipped to deal with such deadly foes. Previous archaeological investigations discovered a single ancient spear within this decaying tree trunk. It has stirred up spirited discussion among many researchers, but little additional information has been revealed, despite their piqued interest. When I told Purah of my plan to venture beneath the castle to investigate the gloom, she expressed strong opposition. That Link would accompany me did not sway her in the slightest. It was only my suggestion to establish an outpost here, a place to observe the gloom from and to reach the hidden path beneath the castle, that earned her begrudging acceptance. This is one of the Skyview towers that Purah designed to aid in the restoration of Hyrule. Though it is not quite finished, we have Hudson Construction to thank for how quickly it is coming along. Now, if only Purah could have similar success finding any volunteers to use the paraglider to survey the land from above. There are many things we can learn from history. After all, we would not have known to prepare for the calamity if we had not studied ancient relics from our past. Knowing this, and having seen the passion of the archaeologists I've met on my travels, I have decided to form a team to survey ancient ruins and texts across Hyrule. I am sure there are many things we can learn from them as we restore the land. It is critical that we repair Hyrule's roads and bridges. Unfortunately, despite the efforts of Hudson Construction and the Stable Association, we lack the labor to tackle this task. We are blessed with abundant resources, however, so we've established material caches dedicated to the rebuilding efforts and made them freely available. The ruins of Mabe Village. It was the farm closest to the castle, and I would often visit it incognito. They always shared far more food than I could possibly eat, and I remember that they treated their animals like members of their family. I imagine no one here fled alone when the time came. This forest park was the direct responsibility of the royal family, cared for and built upon by each successive generation of rulers. Though it has been partially destroyed by fire, that does not spell the end of our ancestors' legacy. In fact, I believe I caught sight of some new growth emerging already. Although the soldiers at the training camp fought back, this settlement was burned to the ground by a single rampaging guardian. The loose ground has left little trace of the heroic battle they waged. I pray their brave spirits have found peace with Goddess Hylia. I'll always remember Woodland Stable. It is where I saw the president of the Stable Association's grandson swinging a baton around. It seems he has formed a band, gathering one musician after another. While his mannerisms are clumsy, others are enthralled by his appearance and enthusiasm. Once I have finished my investigation, I should try to see them perform. This was an important training camp in the days before the calamity. It is said that when the calamity occurred, all of the veteran soldiers had been deployed and only trainees remained here. Despite their inexperience, the brave trainees worked together and defeated a guardian. I pray their souls have found peace. This area used to be covered in lava and was largely unapproachable, but now that the volcanic eruptions have subsided, even Hylians can come here without taking fire resistance measures. Thus, the new path. I've heard there are even plans for new shops along the road. This place is about to see some significant changes. When I was preparing to come here to Goron City, I bought lots of fireproof elixirs to counter the extreme heat. It's a relief to see those are no longer needed. One thing that hasn't changed, though, is the Goron's love of eating rocks. Seeing it now, I am reminded of when Daruk gave Link a rock to eat. And he did. I was surprised when I first saw Yunobo. The young Goron is built just like his grandfather, and I nearly shouted, "Daruk!" in excitement. Of course, he doesn't have the same bold spirit Daruk had, but he is an honest boy with a truly kind heart. This restaurant specializes in grilling various foods, though it seems they are planning on leaving this location to a skilled chef and opening a new shop along the road. Since they were moving on, They were kind enough to give me a seared steak as a gift. This is the large sword that Daruk carried with him. He always held it as though it was light as a feather, but I believe it is actually a boulder breaker he had custom made to be twice as heavy as normal. Not only that, but when he became a champion, he increased its weight even more. There is a certain symbolism in this. Daruk was bold and friendly, but he carried an incredible weight without concern or complaint. Oh, Daruk, Link told me of when your spirit was released. I am so sorry that you worried after me all the way to the end, and I cannot thank you enough for keeping the promise you made 100 years ago. I will make you proud, my friend. I will bring peace to this land. Please, watch over me. It was not long ago that lava was frequently and fiercely erupting from Death Mountain. These days the mountain seems to have quieted, though. I've heard stories that ancient Gorons built dwellings far down in the depths of the mountain. I wonder if this is similar to how the mountain looked back then. The sudden changes on Death Mountain left many Gorons feeling uneasy, but I hear young Yunobo goes to the mountain every day to mine ore from the exposed rock face. It seems his efforts are motivating his fellow Gorons, shaking them out of their worry and giving them purpose. Certainly the future of Goron City is brighter thanks to Yunobo. The Gorons looked so comfortable as they lounged in these hot springs. As for me, the heat was too much and I only put my feet in. Poor Link even caught a scolding from the Gorons when he tried to add a little water to cool it down. Apparently this temperature is merely tepid to them already. Stables are a treasure trove of information and a great place to find members of the research team. Though we've only just begun our work, we've already received research reports from every region. As we continue working, I should ensure they know how to defend themselves. Exploring the unknown can be dangerous after all. This was previously the trailhead for Death Mountain, but the path has collapsed and monsters have descended on the area, scaring off most of the travelers. If Daruk were here, I'm sure he'd clear out any opposition in no time. Assuming there are no dogs among them. We thought Akala Citadel impregnable, but the battle here proved it was anything but. We must carry the lessons learned from this battle forward with us. I vow to honor the sacrifices of those who died here. I will work tirelessly to restore Hyrule and to create a peaceful future for its people. South Akala Stable. Many guardians swept through this area, and though the building was destroyed, the workers were all able to get to safety. No doubt that is thanks to the soldiers of Akala Citadel buying them time. But now the Stable Association has rebuilt the stable, and you can hardly see any traces of the past destruction. No one actually knows what happened here at the Shadow Hamlet during the calamity. They were a very isolated village, and they liked it that way. They even turned me away when I came to warn them about the calamity. I wonder if this place would be more than ruins if I had tried harder to get them to listen. Though the Spring of Power remains, it has been neglected and fallen into ruin. I imagine many see power as a symbol of the Demon King and thus avoid the spring, but there is a misunderstanding there. Power itself is neither inherently evil nor good. It is the individual wielding that power that defines it. Apparently, East Akala Stable got its start when the Stable Association used scrap wood left over from other stables to construct a shelter for people whose homes had burned down. The kitchen prepared steamed buns for the people then, and the recipe has since become a signature meal here. The Akala Ancient Tech Lab was originally a lighthouse Guardians destroyed. Apparently, Pura and Robbie later converted it into a lab. They claim its proximity to ruins is why they chose this place, but I think the real reason they settled here was to discourage visitors. Their research was dangerous after all. Terrytown, a village that brought all the peoples of Hyrule together. Hudson is the driving force behind its founding, though they say Link played a role as well. This place, where Hylians, Rito, Goron, Zora, and Gerudo all live together in peace, is a model of the world I hope to see in the future. Hudson Construction. It seems Hudson is rarely in the shop, as he is busy recruiting workers for the restoration efforts. I hear he is expecting a child soon, and though he is a reserved man, I can see his quiet excitement. They say Hudson Construction adopted the name policy from its predecessor, Bolson Construction. All employees must have a name that ends in son. There is technically one exception, though. A man named Haggy supposedly introduced himself as Haggy-san in his interview, which Hudson mistook for Haggy-san. This track facilitates transit from the village to the work area. It is not a complex creation, relying on the height difference to send the rope and pulley down the rails. However, it is only one way, so a person would have to walk back along the perimeter to reach the village. I wonder if Sheikah technology could improve this. Apparently, when the water levels in Torin wetland receded and solid ground emerged, Hudson Construction decided to build a workspace here. That workspace has come to be the main site for producing the building materials used in our restoration efforts. I'm excited to see how this place flourishes. Torin wetland was once littered with the broken remains of countless guardians, though there are no longer any traces of them. I imagine the wetlands reduced the guardians' mobility, making it impossible for them to avoid each other's attacks. No doubt Arkela owes thanks to the quick thinking of soldiers from the Citadel for this. If the guardians hadn't been so hindered, the Arkela region would have suffered more damage. The Zora created these stone monuments, and while they once were engraved with the words of King Dorephan, they now bear those of Sidon. He has written of the battle against the divine beast when he allowed Link to ride on his back. That really shows how completely he trusts Link. It is rare for a Zora to let anyone on their backs after all. In order to prevent the damage a flooding river would cause, the Zora people and the Kingdom of Hyrule worked together to build this reservoir. In fact, though they were only amicable toward each other before the project, it was the act of building this that formed a true friendship between the Zora and the Kingdom of Hyrule. Thanks to their long lifespans, many Zora here in Zora's domain still remember the events of the calamity and Mipha's part in all of it 100 years ago. I do not think I will be welcomed, but it is my duty to tell them what happened to her in the end. 100 years ago, a statue was made to celebrate Mipha, the Zora champion. It is now a memorial to her sacrifice. Apparently, it is thanks to Sidon that it stands where it does. It was he who proposed it be relocated to a place with a wonderful view. With Link accompanying me, I told the gathered Zora of Mipha's fate. The throne room was filled with sobs and angry shouts, but King Dorephan quieted everyone when he spoke, offering a simple, soft thank you. His words felt like he was giving me permission, even telling me to move on, to not be held prisoner to the past. I have heard that an important part of the process of crafting Zora armor is a prayer for the safety of a loved one. Apparently Mipha often came to this place to work on armor she made for Link. However, in the end she left the armor with King Dorephan. Perhaps she knew she would not be able to hand it to Link herself. Waterbeds! I had only mentioned it in passing to the proprietor 100 years ago, so it was quite a shock to see the fanciful notion brought to life. And laying in one feels just as I imagined, like floating in a lake. I hear travelers enjoy the beds, but even more surprising, so do the Zora. The pristine sanctum is part of the traditions a retiring Zora king follows upon abdicating their title. It is said that many generations of kings have cleansed their bodies in the pristine waters here, as well as offering one of their scales to this throne. In so doing, they symbolically abandon the earthly world. I'm sure that you love the view of the village from here, don't you, Mipha? I shared your final words with King Dorephan, you know. He told me, thank you. But I should be the one offering my thanks. And I do. I offer them to you. Thank you, Mipha. I wish only that we had more time together. The ruins of Goponga village. The people who lived here raised many horses. They used the unique terrain here as a stable, but it has been so ravaged by monsters now that it's virtually unrecognizable. Considering their skilled horsemanship, I want to believe everyone was able to flee on horseback. It was the stable association that came up with the plan for a well at every stable. It makes perfect sense to have access to clean water stores, but an additional aspect of the plan was for the well to serve as a shelter for the people in case of emergency. It is hard to forget the stories of rampaging guardians, their attacks scorching the land. The Florat Sandbar and Magda, who cultivates flowers here, inspired me to create a place where flowers from all over Hyrule could bloom together. Though I was able to borrow tools from a stable, I am not adept at this kind of work. The dirt has gotten everywhere. Still, I must focus. Silent Princess. Blue Nightshade. Mighty Thistle. What next? Riverside Stable is known to many as a gathering place for gourmets. Visiting here reminds me of a time I shared a meal of meat and rice with a few who claimed hunger is the best sauce. Though at the time they had not eaten in 3 days and were nearly immobilized at their campsite, I hoped they learned their lesson. Ah, Highland Stable. Horseback archery was very popular before the calamity, though it appears interest has waned in modern times. Instead, there is considerable effort being made to teach travelers how to handle horse-drawn wagons, and more importantly, how to care for the horses that pull them. Long ago, I was too scared to enter the Spring of Courage. Not even just as a child, though then I could at least blame the intimidating message on the stone statue. Those who lack courage will be eaten by a dragon. But even as an adult, I always worried that I wasn't brave enough. Today, I think I can investigate every corner of this place without fear. Lakeside Stable is the closest stable to where I first discovered the creatures I have named Dondons. I found them deep in the jungle and I knew I had to do what I could to protect them. I believe they use the rock-like bumps on their backs as a way to conceal themselves, but that is all I have learned so far. I think I will spend some more time observing them. I have heard stories about a heart-shaped pond, known as the Lover's Pond. I am almost certain it wasn't here before, although this place was once thought of as the wish-making mountain, and I hear many people would visit. Perhaps all their wishes manifested as the pond. Some may laugh at this idea, but I think I like it. There was a time when Tuft Mountain was famous for binding two people's destinies together. However, that legacy seems to have been forgotten as time passed. Standing here, taking in the magnificent scenery, I feel all my worries melting away, like how a setting sun slowly melts into the horizon. Lurelin Village was once a small fishing center, but apparently the rise in monsters has driven many of the villagers away from fishing. Now it hosts travelers, attracting them as a sort of resort with its beautiful scenery and delicious food. The village may have changed, but its people are some of the warmest I know. I feel a wonderful calm visiting here. I was amazed at the delicious food I was treated to by the fantastic cook here. It seems she traveled far and wide in Hyrule, gathering an incredible 228 recipes before getting married and settling down. I suggested she open a restaurant, and while she seemed to laugh at the idea, I saw quiet pride at the compliment. It seems they turned an abandoned ship hull into a house, even using palm trees to hold the ship in place. It has become something of a local landmark, as well as a place for guests to stay. Considering its size, it really does make sense they would use it as an inn. The goddess statue in Lurelin Village is now worshipped as the guardian of the ocean. I believe it used to be thought of as the guardian of fishing, but it seems that as the number of fishers shrank here, the role of the goddess statue has changed along with the village itself. Not everyone can adapt to the changes that life brings. There is much we can learn from the people of this village. Cape Cressia was once known as the Demon King's Claw, and many villagers feared this place, but the name has fallen out of use as time has passed. I myself have walked the length of this area, and I didn't feel anything particularly evil about it, probably another reason the name is largely unused today. I wonder where the name originated from. When the head of Lurelin Village asked me how he might raise awareness about his village, I immediately thought of this place. Cornet Beach has such long stretches of sand, and it's free of coral reefs. I thought perhaps some sort of playground that incorporates the ocean would be a wonderful addition. But no, it really is an outlandish idea. I couldn't even bring myself to suggest it. 100 years ago, Eventide Island was filled with monsters and impossible to safely approach. Link came along to protect me, but he suddenly covered his eyes the moment we landed. Fortunately, it seems all the monsters vanished with the calamity. Regardless, when I asked him what he was doing, he said the last time he was here he had been stripped of all his possessions when he arrived. He could have mentioned that possibility before I set foot on the shore. Many people evacuated from the town around Hyrule Castle, but less than half of them made it from there to this point. And even then, as they saw the Guardians appear before the dueling peaks, they thought they were done for. Thankfully, these brave souls were here to protect them. I pray they found peace at last. The dueling peaks. I shudder to think of what would have happened if Link hadn't led everyone here. The steep terrain gave us some protection, and plenty of places to hide from the Guardians. Many lives were saved, including my own. I was always being protected back then. The Blattery Plain. Many soldiers lost their lives here when Guardians rampaged through the area. Now numerous swords throughout the field mark their graves. I passed by so many as I made my way here. It is our duty to never forget them, nor the sacrifice they made. Though some believe a miracle occurred here at Fort Hateno, the truth is less divine. We were all saved thanks to the soldiers, including Link, who chose to risk their lives here, though they would not have had to do so if my power had awakened sooner. Regardless, I pray their spirits were comforted by Goddess Hylia. Dueling Peak Stable is one of the newly established stables. Considering this whole area was devastated by the calamity and completely overrun by Guardians, it's a good thing there was not a stable here before. Ah, Kakariko Village. The Sheikah that live here are quite peaceful, but that does not mean they are unwilling or unable to defend themselves. I would not be surprised if this village avoided the worst of the calamity because any monsters that threatened it were summarily dealt with by the villagers themselves. I came here to visit a friend that I had not seen in 100 years. She had been an advisor to the royal family, and following the calamity, she became the leader of this village while awaiting my return. The relief on her face when she saw me. We talked for hours and hours, trying to make up for all the time we'd lost. There are beautiful fish with a unique patterning living in the waters beneath the falls. They must be the ornamental fish Sheikah researchers worked tirelessly to breed here 100 years ago. Their efforts were certainly hindered by the calamity, but it doesn't surprise me that the Sheikah would still find a way to finish their work. A local guardian. It has long been believed that frogs bring good luck. In fact, they hold spiritual significance for the Sheikah. For my part, I pray not only that the land of Hyrule be restored, but that we can then continue to work together and achieve great things. A garden for growing plums. 100 years ago, Impa planted a plum tree here to celebrate a child's birth. It really has grown into something beautiful since that time. The care Melly has put into maintaining this place is clear to see. Now that I think of it, could she be the house where Coco lives? She picked such an abundance of flowers for me that we decided to make garlands with them. She said she would teach her little sister Kotla how to make them as well. Seeing her work so hard stirred memories of when Mother taught me how to weave garlands together, though I found it very difficult at first and may have even cried in frustration. It seems the great fairy Kotera no longer lives here. I have heard that the only truly appropriate offering to her was rupees, and after the villagers started offering vegetables, thinking that would suffice, Kotera quickly grew weak. She was too considerate of the villagers' feelings to say anything, though. The last time I descended this mountain, the powers I had inherited were still beyond my grasp. The calamity was soon to come, with all its despair and destruction. But now, thanks to the flame of hope kept alive by the champions, by Link, I can do my utmost for everyone. I always feel at home when I am in Hateno village. The smells of well-tended soil and freshly cut grass, the refreshing breeze coming off Mount Lanayru washing over me, the sound of children at play in the village. I am so glad to see life slowly returning to normal here. That people have time to consider and enjoy fashion is a sure sign that life is returning to normal in Hyrule. I'm sure much of the credit for the interest in fashion is thanks to Cece's determination and inspiration. I hear the idea for the mushroom pattern came to her when she visited Terrytown in Akala. Kochi Dye Shop, here in Hateno Village, specializes in dyes. The owner, Sage, stuck his own head into his dyeing machine and turned his trademark red hair black. Apparently it happened while he was working on an idea he got from some drawings his son Safaro made. I must admit, I am intrigued with what he's up to. I pray that as the restoration work continues, Hateno School will become a place where children can find many paths toward their futures, that it will shine as a beacon of hope for generations to come. I will forever associate Hateno Pasture with the meal I had here 100 years ago. However, when I returned recently and inquired after the recipe, no one seemed to know what I was referring to. Could that unforgettable dish be lost to time? It seems that when the calamity was defeated, all of the ancient relics here at the Hitano Ancient Tech Lab turned to dust and disappeared. All that remains are replicas of the originals, and with those gone, these are even more valuable. They will doubtlessly help tell future generations of the history of Hyrule. Purah has used the blackboard in her room to write out the details of how she reversed her physical age. I still can't believe she got the idea from sheep's fat. Regardless, it seems she quickly got bored of her childhood form. It is amusing that, despite 100 years passing and Purah growing old, then young, then a little older, she hasn't changed in at least one way. She will become obsessive about something, yet grow tired of it quickly. Even though 100 years have passed, and so many things have happened, this place hasn't changed a bit. Its enduring nature has shown me that it's all right not to force change. A strange horned statue. It suddenly spoke to me, calling itself a dealer in life and power, and I felt an overwhelming sensation, like my life was being drained away. But just as suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck the statue, toppling it into the water. That feeling. I do not think the statue had good intentions. It is best left submerged. While we were digging a well, I came upon a hidden room. It may have been connected to the main building at one time, but it seems it was forgotten as years passed. Still, it could be used again, with a little work on the more decayed areas. I imagine something precious was once stored in that treasure chest. What could I put there? This room feels a little lonely, so I've decided to decorate it with pictures of the people and places I encountered on my travels. And also, with the memories of my dearest friends. Once you pass through the Lost Woods, you'll arrive at the forest where the great Deku Tree lives. When I first visited here, I could hardly move from fright, but Mother soothed my fears by pointing out that where I saw scary twisted trees, she saw interesting, expressive faces. That is when I truly learned the value of appreciating different perspectives. I have visited this place and the great Deku Tree countless times, but the very first was shortly after I was born, when the great Deku Tree blessed me with a cherry blossom bud. It bloomed above my head, proving I had inherited the power of the goddess. Though Father was joyful at this, Mother's reaction was mixed. There was difficulty and pain in the journey that lay ahead for me, but I am, in the end, happy to have been blessed with this power. When Link was on the brink of death, had it not been for your voice to guide me, I wouldn't be here now. Though I cannot hear your voice any more, I still offer you my thanks. It is because of you that the world was saved. Please, rest here and heal your wounds.